So let's say that you're interested in getting involved in storing your own food, buying organic food online, and most of all, doing it to save money. Now, that was initially what got my interest, the idea of buying in bulk, wholesale, back in 2008. I remember dating a girl briefly by the name of Patricia, and a whole story behind that saga. But us doing the whole prepper thing early on and the meetup thing in Portland early on, 2007, 2008, you could say that we got pretty prepped a little early. But I think that we can kind of have an internal warning system within us that can almost fire early. Like I was saying in a previous video, to where we are responding to these energies thinking that it's going to happen at a moment, like a major catastrophe, where we could simply be responding to the changes that are in the air. But right now, at this moment in time, even for the off-grid reality that I'm living in right now, I am looking at Azure Standard again. So it's been many years since even those many, many buckets. So I had about 12 buckets full of food. And even a photo album, which I no longer have to this day. And even things like a crossbow and other things. So I'm at the point of needing to rebuild. And what I'm bringing to your awareness is this is a cheaper place to get stuff, a lot of stuff. I just looked at 2 items and compared them to eBay and Walmart, and they were both cheaper here. Those items, which are in my cart now, we'll take a brief look. And so there are drop sites all around the nation that Azure Standard delivers to. You may need to travel to a particular drop site, and it may be several hours, right? And so Trinidad Drop Company, I had set one up with Azure to receive a lot of quinoa when I stayed there several years ago. And fortunately, because I ended up needing the money, that purchase did not go through. Okay, I did not end up getting like 10 bags of quinoa, 25-pound bags each. I was seriously about to like overbuy. Like back in 2015. And what happened between now and then? Well, I'm here now. The money had to go for something else. I really don't like the idea of being in certain environments and the idea of resources running out. I think that food should be buried. People should have different preparedness sites. People should plan to do things outside of internet communications. Okay. And I could set up maybe another video at another time. I just thought we would actually like hang out a little bit and like go shopping. I'm going to try not to get into the news. But go ahead and leave a comment if you would like to on what you would pick up here, what you think is the best deal, what you would recommend. And there are some things that are not necessarily food items, but they are items that one might want or need. So let's talk a little bit more about this. Azure is east of Portland, but don't hold it against them. But I got to hand it to them. They stayed out of the political sideshow. This is not your typical .com survival company. Let's talk about the price comparisons. This is not a commercial. I'm not affiliated with Azure. I am in the process of completing my order. What is on my menu? Well, you saw so far quinoa and pancakes. Pancakes, $42 gets 25 pounds of organic buttermilk pancakes through Azure Standard. But hey, if you're into paying more and getting the extra gluten Walmart pancakes, well, look no further than the Walmart pancakes, but you only get 17 pounds. It just took me a minute to compare it. For years, I've been going over here and getting the quinoa. You see this here, $17.95. Okay, so what we have here is a situation where, well, let's do the math on that. 5 times 18 is what? Well, it's almost $100, just under. Okay. When I look at Azure Standard, it's showing me a price ticket of $50 for 25 pounds. I mean, seriously, we need sound effects here. It's the Wheel of Fortune with Alex Ansary. And for our lucky winners, you get an authentic food supply kit. That is, you get an authentic food supply kit. What would be a inauthentic food supply kit? Well, I have some thoughts about that as well. But as I've talked about, experiences with some of the survival con artists that are out there that are experts at this, each catastrophobia cycle from Y2K to 2012, they're working it, baby. You don't have to let them work you. But do you need to learn how to grow your own food in certain situations? Or should you, if you can, and if you have water? Yes. Are there some situations where having stored food and even things like spirilla, stored dried greens, things of that nature? For some people, getting food ahead of time is more practical, but learning how to grow food over time is important. But we have to look at issues like whether or not there will be water there, whether or not enough water is stored, and whether or not it's more practical to water the garden or to water the food that we're boiling. You need to really think this through. Some people are blessed to have rivers, like right where they're living, so they can have their garden. A lot of people have access, easy access to water. Some people live up in the hills where there is no water. I happen to be one of those individuals. And so this is not an ideal unless there's a community where there's trucks involved and it's free of slavery and politics. And so unfortunately in this day and age, there's a lot of division. We've talked about that in other videos. So the importance of having stored food and not relying necessarily on a garden actually goes up a little bit when we look at the instability of today's societies that should be organizing more permaculture gardens, not less. I said more. But in order for people to work together, there has to be the seeds of consciousness of mutual respect planted first. And so that has its own definition. So what does that look like? Where it's not a master-slave relationship, but there's cooperation and mutual respect. What does that look like? And are there examples of that we can see? And so, I'm attempting to grow some things right now, but a couple basic things. What I really need is a truck, and I need the money for the truck. Right now, money's going towards survival. Right now, and I had a suspicion that the world situation could change dramatically. I had a feeling a month ago that there might be a food purchase coming up. Now, what people need to understand about this that are city people is that this is not extremist behavior. This is healthy food they should be feeding themselves. Screw Safeway, screw Kroger, screw Monsanto, screw Walmart, screw these places. This is organic food from the farmland, much of it grown on the east side of Mount Hood. Take a look at where it is geographically for those of you that love organic food. This is not a commercial, but I'm not just going to be silent. Let's go back to Azure, not the eBay ad. While people send you in various directions, the story told again in brief, and I'll give you more details this time. I suggested with what I perceived were my partners at the Portland Preparedness Center that they stock the PPC, and I came up with the name and the number and the artwork and the graphic designer. All of that and the location. I found them the location for $1,000 a month continuing. And I suggested that for a Portland anti-Monsanto organic crowd that they not try to push GMO, Mountain House, freeze-dried, along with other people pushing stuff surrounding Ice Age. What about organic? What about being authentic with it instead of just saying buy now, freak out, it's all going down now? And so when I talk about that situation, them sitting me down and going, Alex, we want to make sure that you're on board with basically, you don't know how much money somebody has when they walk through that door. So don't say that they can't afford it. And I warned them and they didn't stay in business past 2013. But it was a humiliating experience to leave Portland that way because I cared so much about wanting to see people prepared with the organic grains. I over time kind of developed this kind of affinity with the stored grains of the organic kind, and the idea of communities coming around and maybe one day that there being and I never really been to a lot of community things. I didn't really feel popular, if you will. The Rainbow Family Gathering, I feel like they looked at me like I was some sort of a cop in what event I did go to in 2011. But the idea of like the soup kitchen isn't the right word. The people gathering during the mealtime that seemed to be making a whole lot of food out of organic grains, and that was something that I remember. It seemed a little destitute, to be honest, and it's the overall scene seemed very antisocial. I chalked that up to the sign of the times. Again, it was 2011. Occupy was just starting up, and all that angry, unfocused energy was unleashed as the solar cycle woke up. Solar cycle 24 and the rise of Occupy, and also the calming of Occupy as the solar cycle maximum passed. All emotionalism, responsive behavior during key periods of the cycle. And so I'm on this quest to not only educate people about certain values and morals, but the importance of preparedness from a practical standpoint. It's not just what it seems. You need to know what your strengths are and your weaknesses are going to be in a particular event based on what you can access resource-wise. And would it or would it not be wise for those that can afford it to have a little insurance that may help them if they need to barter with food? What makes me nervous is if I hear people talk about, well, when it all goes down, I'm going to take. And that's what most people say, and it's troublesome. How many people would want someone coming and taking from them? Let's look at flour. So let's just keep this party popping. Alrighty then. So again, they have a phone number, and the way that this is done, you want to set up an account with them and line up the drop spot and your contact person. And so it's like a scene where you're getting it out of a trunk of a car, but it's not a car, it's a delivery truck. And so when Patricia, a former friend of mine, back in that era of time, it was amazing how I had that experience with a female early on. Like, we were ready way in advance, and then we completely went our separate paths. I would be incredibly surprised if she was tapping into this channel at this time. She went to work for Microsoft in management, believe it or not. we're just talking generally, you know. Just the life and times of Alex Answer behind the scenes. Some of the people I've rubbed elbows with, and the people that I've met, some of the people that they've rubbed elbows with. It's something that actually doesn't really make sense until maybe I'm like past 40 or past, a certain point where it's like I really start talking about things from another perspective. The real challenges that I faced, even trying to find community as a truther or an independent media person, the fear that it provokes, the assumptions of being another media person like others, another Alex Jones, or worse yet, an agent of the government, just by talking about certain things and not agreeing with everyone. Oh, that's total suspect for being an agent. Just don't agree with someone. And so it's like to be talking about real world events and healthy food and spirituality and solar flares, China, hot damn. And talking about relationships outside the box of MGTOW. Oh, no, you didn't? Yes, I did. And I'll do it again. I'm also thinking about maybe there's a future for me in blog talk radio. I'm getting more into doing the microphone thing. Someone a few months ago recommended I get more into doing radio shows. The video thing is just one type of communication. I caution people from getting too addicted to seeing themselves on camera. It does get old, and it is more than what someone looks like. It's the content. It's the content. It's the discussion being had, not whether someone looks hot or not. It's the soul voltage being transferred through the oral communication. Can you hear me now? Hey, look at this. We're on the rice page. We're on the rice page. Rice has become a little less interesting in my life since discovering quinoa, because quinoa has all the amino acids that you need. It may be missing one or two, but it is like especially when you combine like beans, quinoa. No, I'm not looking at I'm just trying to remember off what I was going off before, going, okay, in a world where there's no meat and a bunch of starving people, how do we meet our nutritional requirements? I would disagree with people saying that everyone should do the same thing. Not everyone is ready for that. Not everyone's off the grid. Not everyone off the grid is in a good situation to have chickens. Sometimes there are issues like bears security. Sometimes there are issues like land use codes that prevent some areas from being populated that are off the grid, like certain counties that have been mentioned in recent years, where it would be awesome to have a permaculture community of like-minded, independent people not suffering from the illusions of separation. That includes competition to be number one. That includes competition to dominate a narrative, a keyword, or a niche. The illusions of separation issue that we have transcends racial. It's the I know it all. I'm the ruler. I'm the commander. I'm the. Watch Far Cry 5, the video game, for more. None of us want to be that guy. But is there a prototype personality that comes from the Archons that is that guy in Far Cry 5? Who's that guy in Far Cry 5 in your neck of the woods in Oregon? In your neck of the woods in Washington? Who's that guy in Far Cry 5? In your neck of the woods in Colorado? Who's that guy in Far Cry 5? What's Alex talking about? Far Cry 5. Go to YouTube and watch the trailer. What were like the creators of that just like foreseeing like future cult leaders that would take advantage of people terrified for their lives? Come with me if you want to live. And other warnings of a doomsday cult. And so it is the problematic nature of these personalities that all of a sudden like makes it very, very important that people do have backup plans. There was one particular individual known using the stage name probably known to us all as Christopher Green. There should be like some sort of like a little sound effect every time his name's mentioned by the great and one and only Alex Ansary. But he was playing up the fears of the North Korean thing. And he filled up his pickup truck with 30 clear water containers like the ones that you get filtered at the Walmart thing for, and there were probably 5 to 7 gallon. Here's the thing, yo. And he brags about being a millionaire today with his Maserati, and he knows all these things. You know all these things, huh? You know all these things. You friggin' moron. You know all these things, and you have these clear containers for water storage when you should be getting like the good stuff. Like you know what you're doing. Like you're not promoting like BPA poisoning. Get out of here, man. Where do these people come from? What you get is some BPA-free containers. This ain't gonna be no commercial for Walmart. But when it comes to brass tacks, when it comes to survival, you got to get what you get at the right price. We're in collapse. Deal with it. They got a 77 after tax water gallon drum for 55 gallon, right? PPC would have tried to sell it to you for $120. Like, hey, you don't know how much money somebody has. It's the end of the world. Nibiru is coming. And they were all about Nibiru 2012. And it's like these people, they're like the hardcore purveyors of the worst fake news you can imagine, don't get called out by their own followers or customers. And so there's going to be other variants of those types of folks that are going to emerge in the future and go, buy now, buy now, buy now. We don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow. And Christopher Green right now is a leading guy doing that example that I'm giving. But there are others. He reminds me of what they wanted me to be. If I had the personality of Chris Green and those guys met me in Portland, it'd be like their wet dream. And it was when they united with um, Ground Zero Radio. But together, the terrifying fake stories about common Elanine and the advertising dollars for Ground Zero was not enough to keep the store in business. You feel me? That the disinformation artists that are out there online do a disservice to the legitimate discussion of prepping. Okay, I did not mean to go on that entire rant. I apologize to all the followers of Ramtha. Alex is so sorry. Ramtha is my mommy. Um, Now, we are joking here, folks. Don't take that out of context. Oh boy, we are having fun that was not planned. This should be outlawed. Okay, so what else do you think that I should be adding to my? You see, now the brown organic, what I need to do is get good at cooking with the spices, which they have here as well. And so, like, I can put down some garbanzo beans. I can put down some peas and some rice, even broccoli. But when things are overcooked, when things are coming out of microwaves and such, really? Are we really at that level? Maybe what we really have is an epidemic of fast food addicts. Not to disrespect anybody that enjoyed a McDonald's recently, but I mean, let's just be honest. It's the truth. I know that no one attempted to try to teach me how to cook jack as a child. And there were times in which I even asked my father's family. Maybe they thought it was just woman's work. Well, I know the men cook something, but maybe I just wasn't a full one of them. And there we are in a side topic, illusions of separation. But I wanted them to teach me, as I wanted them to teach me other things about their world. And they didn't, because I was an outsider. And so I have a little bit of experience bouncing around. I'm hoping you are having a major leap and evolutionary leap as we talk about these things. Um, Most people have never lived off the grid and have boiled rice or quinoa. Most people don't even know how to say it, or look honestly at why that joke about how they can't say it gets really boring really quick. It gets really boring really quick. I can't pronounce it. You can. It's spelled like they spell it out like it's the one way it's written. Then there's the way that it sounds like quinoa. You know what I mean? Like quinoa, like a K. Instead, whether someone can enunciate something or not, still, and so that's fine. Don't buy all the quinoa, folks. It's going to be more for me. More for me. And those that are going to get the tip off that are viewers of OTB TV, that I would recommend that you add quinoa to your list of items and that you learn how to maybe prepare it, because it's going to be a good protein complement to your other stored beans, legumes, things of that nature. Isn't that exciting, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I have a memory, the only memory of maybe a gathering of the reviewers of my program on Access TV 10 years ago. And there'd be 10 of us, 10 viewers of my program in one room eating organic vegetables. Doesn't that sound nice? And then basically, like a group mind hive, like kind of disintegrating. And one particular individual hooking up with another female member of the group. And I'm glad that they found each other through me. I'm glad I've been so many things to so many people over all these years, as I speak a lone voice in the wilderness. But you could say that Alex Ansary, before he completes his purchase, he's having flashbacks. I'm having storable food flashbacks. It's the baggage. It's all those lonely white buckets with the gamma seal. You know, the gamma seal. I had gamma seals. Some of you are like, what's that? Picture like rims on a car. Rims on a car to a prepper, it's gamma seals for your buckets. I already bragged about having like 12, right? 300 pounds. Just picture me flexing my arms right now, just fully cut, just 300 pounds. Yeah. But that was 2008, and it's now 2019. And I'm not even in contact with the person that owns the cabin. That is just insane. How people throw people under the bus because they literally act like they're in a scene from Dark City and they go to sleep. People literally went to sleep on me. Are you asleep? Can you hear me now? How interested would some of you be in participating in an ongoing thread at OTB about what you would prefer to buy here at Azure Standard? Hell, we'll even send it to Azure themselves. Maybe they'll become a sponsor. Probably not. And probably wise of them. Did I say this already? That they steered clear of the and they don't have a bunch of political ads on the front of their website. It's just healthy, organic food. Don't harm us. Please pay for what you take. Here's what's on the menu. Please keep your voice down. And see, this is what you want to do. You want to be doing research and going, awesome, look at this wholesale organic grains. And you skip the fake news. You skip the left right paradigm. What does any of this have to do with Trump or Hillary? What does any of this have to do with immigrants? Nothing. It's food already. Now, the permaculture crowd is listening also. And there's various thoughts going. It's like, yeah, Azure Standard, never heard of that. Seeds, they do outdoor and garden. Are you ready? Are you ready for their garden seed menu? Now, several years ago, I did get some of Ernie's seed. He's the guy with the Colorado quinoa farm. By the way, email me if you're in the SLV or another safe place, safe spot in Colorado. Let me know what you think. Heirloom seeds. Of course, there are farmers markets where you can connect with other people that have seeds. But unless the seeds of consciousness are planted first, where there's mutual respect, then everything else can fall and collapse unless the first seeds are built. Add to cart, but don't put the cart before the horse. I'm going to get a tattoo. Add to cart, but don't put the cart before the horse. Yes, we can get a massive solar blast, but what if there was a massive solar blast of human consciousness to where people felt empathy for others, something so monumental, maybe only in my dreams. Thank you, Debbie Gibson. So we can also see on sale potatoes, tomato paste, organic feed. On that topic, let's just do this, because you know what? It is time. Okay, I'm just gonna get my cat some better food, and then I'm gonna back out of this whole thing here. And I don't have a phone, so sometimes I have to coordinate with my only close friend who was here visiting recently. And so I will probably get some help trying to set this up with them to acquire these resources. Here we have $2.70 a pound. And right now it's all kind of, I can't really determine what's the best deal with regards to the cat food. It definitely is cat mating season. There was some very sexually frustrated male cats circulating my shed last night. I was so terrified. No, 17 pounds, $40.71. Let me look at this this meow mix here, which, let's see, we're looking at, oh dear, oh, that almost took a dive. We have 13 pounds. 13 pounds of meow mix for about major difference in price. Okay. Dearie me. Pick these headphones up from eBay. Okay, so we have the about page. Who we are, our history, core values, product standards. Shop. Let's go back over here. Nutritional supplements. One of the awesome things, I thought it was a bit cheesy, so I didn't really put it on YouTube, but I'm sure some of you would have enjoyed it. Um, I enjoyed myself a near 5, 6 smoothies when we were at that rental. That was pretty badass. Azure, standard of healthy and abundant living. Chewing gum has its own category. Can you believe it? Nuts. And we will take a look at one of the healthiest sources of protein in just a moment. We have seasonal items. Um, do we see sales? We will take a look at sales because we want to go outside the box. We want something to pop up on the radar. I'm doing a screen capture. We're going to have this pop up as we're looking at it in real time. This is how we are harnessing the power of the sun. It not only grows food for Azure Standard, it powers the little battery setup that powers the satellite internet, which is at least 90 watts. I got a computer, it's like 90 watts. You do the math. Okay, and only 2 golf cart batteries. I live pretty simple. Pretty simple. You have an idea of what they have here. So they have some of the higher end items that you will see at Whole Foods. I will always mention the best stuff at 20 minutes in. Just write a little footnote, understanding Alex Ansary and his rhythm. Wait for it. Bam! You get the best tip 20, 25 minutes in. And you're like, why didn't you start with that? But there's so much money people spend on organic food at the mainstream corporate stores. And some stuff you'll be able to save on. I don't think the savings are all that great on some of these, but I haven't looked in recent years. But it's much more at other locations. Let's take a look at the nuts. And I'm not necessarily talking about the manufactured civil unrest as described by Son of Hightower in Portland, Oregon. We are talking about the kinds that you eat. And it looks like we have raw organic almonds. We'll get you a quote real quick. Hold your horses. I will try to go as fast as possible. I am probably in more the peanut line area of 1 pound, though, $12 organic peanuts. Whole Foods is going to want 20, I'm sure. Something like that. Whole paycheck. We will glance at cashews some other time, but that'll probably be in the middle cost-wise. We work our way down to the peanuts, the dry roasted, no salt. And we'll take a look at that. The other thing that they have here, that's okay. It's over. As a former Fred would say a long time ago, it's over. As in, got it figured out. I'm about tempted to... Organic on top of it. Well, I want salt. Okay, so where we're going to go now... Oh, I only had a little bit of instant coffee. But you see, then I mainlined it with the green tea. You see? The green tea. Here's what you don't know. For the first time, the cannabis that I'm consuming came from this dirt, this hood, this neighborhood. I mean, I've smoked some other crap from this neighborhood, but no good stuff. No good stuff. Until recently. It's okay. I got to scale my budget down. And so trying to keep it local. No vapey right now. Scaling the budget back once in a while. It's more of like a cycle on, cycle off, depending on economics. Priorities. But I'll tell you what the priority is now. But you know what the priority is after this? I got to get the land paid off. But a few silver coins. But I'm not at that point of being able to do that. It's literally get my bills paid, survive. But now it's like, okay, several years now, of grocery food, I should be scaling back my food budget and should be upgrading my ability to be away from town for weeks and weeks. Honestly, my experiences eating meat are getting worse and worse and worse. Alex Ansary is moving more into a time in which, honestly, it'd be ideal if I was being mentored by vegan chefs in the flesh. Do those people still listen to this show or content, or were they turned off forever by talking about the victims of war? What do you think? I know the answer to that. It's the latter. They were turned off by this content. Plenty of people no longer watch this channel because of where I took the conversation of compassion, where PETA never will in a million years. Where PETA never will in a million years. And we need to have conversations about consciousness. I don't want a million subscribers. I don't want fame now. There was a point in time in which I wanted recognition on a major stage to reach the people. Now it's like I do want recognition, but it's a little different, and it can come when it's its right time. It can come in the future. Premature on the world stage, before the people are ready, before the people are peaceful. Nah, I'm all good. I'm all good. You know what? I'm gonna go this way. You know what? You know what? Hey, something's come up. I gotta go now. And so we look here at granola as I make my final third purchase, because many great things come in threes. From solar flares to the days before and after the full moon, which we are in. Can you hear me now? 25 pounds of, see, that's the kind of stuff right there. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. $2 a pound for granola. $2.37. Okay, we go over here to eBay. Yeah, I'll show you granola for $4.99 a pound. I don't know how people are able to afford some of that stuff, but we're going to go granola. And we can see what eBay is asking for. Ooh, look at this. Oh, it's two 34-ounce bags for $13. Fuck off. And I'm sure you can find some Mountain House for $10 as well. 3 pounds of granola for $15. Well, let me think about that. $5 per pound. Okay. This looks like this is our potential runner up. Batter up. Did we go over Walmart? The Walmart pancakes were more. So here we are looking at a $20 tag. Number of bags. Okay. Well, the question, 6 8-ounce bags. Okay. Yeah. Someone's trying to jack somebody. So on every different comparison, we have found Azure kicking their rear end. And they're not necessarily trying to be all that. Like, look at us. We're Azure. We beat everybody's prices. Holla. We've got ads. We're over here sponsoring. They're quiet and stuff. Notice they've got the red mill. Have you seen the red mill? Now, I was born in a land where a lot of your food exports. Where a lot of food exports to around the world. Oregon exports around the world. Oregon exports food to China. I'm recommending to you one of the very best companies. And if you look at their delivery map and whatnot, it'll show you where they deliver. You type in your zip code, and there is basically a person who's like the leader of the drop point meetup, and they basically, you prepay and you come and you pick up your stuff. How simple is that? You might have to spend a half hour on the phone trying to work things out. We've got to work it out. I actually remember this was like an involved thing for somebody to need to work it out. Um, and to figure out where you're going to pick up the damn food. Okay, so we were advancing our research. We were advancing all of this. We were going to go the extra mile because with this granola, and that's good for energy. Um, Add in some of the powdered milk, something like that. So again, we're looking at granola. We're looking at pancake mix. We're looking at quinoa. And we're going to check out at $152. So I want to thank those of you that are contributing to me being able to eat. Okay, a lot of people assume that people like me and other people on YouTube do quite well. Well, there are some people that do quite well. But as I've been talking about in other videos, they're crushing some of us more than others because of the things that we're saying. And we're going against the disinformation, some of us in the alternative media. So our views are going to be smaller. Plus, there's going to be less people associating with the independent mindset and being open to some of the spiritual ideas and being able to differentiate what I'm saying versus the mainstream New Agers and the religions. Right? There's a lot of judgment that comes against people like me. So a lot of people sometimes they support and they hear something that they misunderstand, or maybe I speak too fast and get some of my directions backwards. Like yesterday even happened again. I talked about maybe there might be a lot of people heading west. I meant east, right? So fleeing the West Coast and fleeing West Colorado for Eastern Colorado or the San Luis Valley for people fleeing the Western slope or the Four Corners, fleeing east. I knew early on what I was up against, even in the Forbidden County, right? Discussing that place. And when I was there, I would even talk about how I wanted to grow quinoa, that I wasn't like the others, that I accepted the Hispanics for who they were. But I've also had to go through my own education regarding how things really are in the last couple of years and the difference in some of the micro Colorado tensions between people that are unnecessary, that absolutely get in the way of groups that are different, that aren't all of the same people manifesting, or for certain people to not be so isolated from society because their views are considered so, we'll call it for what it is, crazy, conspiracy theory, or viewed as someone that's a competitor to someone else that dabbles in overt, admitted, quote, conspiracy theory. There is no community. And so if you can hear my voice in Colorado and you even see like leadership capability in the right place with the right people that do understand mutual respect, not cult leader nonsense, but mutual respect, send me an email. At present, things are quiet, and that's cool. I can say that to you and not yell. At present, there's record low engagement on all my platforms. That's cool. We may be in a consciousness reset where a lot of us are going to go in different paths. But I haven't stopped helping my audience access relevant information on a number of different levels. I've only gone deeper. And I know this video actually can save people hundreds of dollars. There's no doubt in my mind. By going through this website and maybe even teaching your children about healthy food as you study the Azure Standard catalog, there might even be a more spiritual experience. Like I said, it was brief. The whole like sharing of food thing at the rainbow thing, core values. But the community vibe wasn't there. You can take the person out of Babylon But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking Babylon out of the person. That's going to be the subject of a blog that I'll be writing at offgridco.com. In fact, that can be a subject of a documentary film. There could be a deep examination of today's off-gridders and how much programming from the system and the federal government they're retaining. They just may be off the grid because they're off the grid, not as a spiritual practice relating to the values they may have for their morality and choosing to step back from a mainstream society that has lost its core values. So the core values is to inspire healthy and abundant living. And so this goes into also, they have books, and I mentioned seeds and supplements and things that I used to think about more often years ago, even things like MMS for Lyme's disease and other things that there's an outbreak. I mean, you need to understand, I spent hundreds of dollars in 2009 during the swine flu outbreak. I was reporting on it. I had people show up for my live 200th live cast, live television show on Portland Cable Access. And you know what? Right? I feel bad about that time period because instead of having a party with my friends, with people that at that time I trusted to come down physically to where I was at, never were white nationalists coming at me. Never were they even in the comment section. Never were the things that happened today happening to me in Portland when I was easily accessible and rubbing elbows with all kinds of people. I think it's kind of amazing. In fact, it even inspired me to think that maybe I was blessed with some protection. Years later in Colorado, I wouldn't assume jack. But I would also open up my mind to other possibilities regarding the afterlife and how the Creator really works. If the Creator chooses to take us out of the game or allow the devil of this world to commit an eviction, there's a deeper cosmic thing happening below the surface. If we're released from our duties early. If we're released from our duties early. We see these stories taking place where someone commits a random act of violence and bam, it's happening. Have you noticed it? I don't think we've had a talk yet about this. I don't think that we've talked about this yet. There is a rise in stories of good people leaving this world after doing good deeds. I want to say to those of you that are not perfect in your own lives that it's important to rise above any shame that you may have held onto and guilt over the past. Stop beating yourself up. Some of you know deep down inside when you've been malicious because that's all you've known. There's always time to change before these events begin. The time is now to have that individual shift in consciousness. Do I think that a large number of my audience members enjoy the videos currently that I'm presenting that say things like that? Well, the like ratio isn't suggesting it at 4. There's obviously been a disconnect and an algorithm problem. And I'm hoping that we can mediate this miscommunication and that the value of this message will be understood. So I hope that this tip-off got you thinking, if you're thinking about survival food, right? That if you were to potentially buy something that you immediately bypass you took an hour or however long this video was to listen to things that I had to say. I want to thank you very much. Tip my hat. Check out the links down below. Support my work. Let's see a new Patreon for the first time in a month. Let's see the first new person sign up at otbtv.net for $5 a month. Let's see the first new VHX sub in several months or a month. Let's see some positive change as we move forward. If you are or will soon be experiencing full-scale homelessness or economic collapse, is there a specific reason why you stay in a dense population?